Good people, welcome to Michigan Football at the Voice of College Football. I am one of your post-game hosts, Desmond. I'm here with my partner, Dre, way past our bedtimes, but
Say that again.
thank you for tuning in. Please hit the like and subscribe button. We are trying to be the #1 team channel in the Mark Rogers Network, and also subscribe to Mark's main channel, the Voice of College Football, and also join his Discord, where you can talk not only college football, but also NFL football 24/7, 365. Dre, my partner, how you doing, man?
Oh, as you said, way past my bedtime. Overall, you know what, dude? I gotta say this. Compared to other schools, after today, it's a really good day to be a Michigan Wolverine. And I even say that you being a Bama fan, like even though you made it out today, you don't feel great today. So,
No,
you know, it's definitely based on everything that's going on today, it's definitely good to be a Michigan Wolverine.
absolutely. Michigan, as of right now, scores 56-10. They're Michigan's is beating up on Hawaii. I think we were all in agreement that we thought that would happen.
Right.
When it comes to this game, it just Hawaii gave up 63 points. I think they lost 63-13 to Vanderbilt, who is not a great team. So with that being said, we all assumed that it was gonna be a little rough today for Hawaii, and it definitely was that. Definitely was that. What grade would you give the Wolverines today?
Oh wow, man, that's tough. That's actually a really tough question to answer. Because well, I have to give them an A because yeah, I give them A by default because they didn't do anything. They started off at an A for me because I expected an A performance. They really haven't, performed below that. They've done pretty much what you expected. Um, so I think they've done their job. I give them an A. No, they didn't really have any penalties today. They've controlled the game at the line of scrimmage. They've executed both offensively and defensively. Um, they haven't played sloppy. I don't think they've taken their foot off the gas pedal in the second half. I think they've just been playing, their second and third string guys. So that's why the overall performance is a little bit different in the first half. But I think overall, especially after, what's happened today across the country, with other programs, they've come out focused and not, they didn't play around with Hawaii. They came out and they punched them in the mouth and did their job.
Yeah, and I would agree. I would give them an A as well. It would have been easy to come out and sleepwalk in this game. I mean, you had plenty of reasons to do that. You had the opponent that you're playing is just not quite at your talent level. You have the rain delay that I think pushed the kickoff back about an hour.
Yeah.
So just so many reasons that they could have come out sluggish and slow, and they didn't do that. I mean, second play of the game, they go up top to Roman Wilson for a touchdown. I think 40+ yard, touchdown there, and the defense was just flying around. And it was funny. I think I tuned in on the second play of the defense was out there. So like the second play of the game, and just seeing the difference of size, like specifically Mike Morris, like seeing him standing up, across from Hawaii's O line, I'm just like, this is gonna be a really long day because he's already a big guy, but I don't think Hawaii's O line was very big, and just seeing that, I'm like, this is gonna be a long day for them. But
Yeah.
nonetheless, they came out and they were dominant. They did what you expected them to do, played at a high level, executed well. So yeah, I would definitely give them an A. Um, Antoine, thanks for joining us. Thanks for tuning in and staying up late. But he's got an interesting comment that you sent me a snapshot. I think you actually put this on Twitter. But Antoine says, to be real, y'all, I don't even think they wanted to block for Kate. I think they set him up. Now he's got a crying emoji, but what are your thoughts on that?
Look, I'm not going to, be a conspiracy theorist. I know that I had a semblance of that thought uh, during a couple of Cade's um, opportunities with the offense out there, where it's like, It was very, very odd. And I saw a lot of people a couple people agreed with me. Like, it was just really, really odd how bad the pass pro got when K got in the game. And the whole game while JJ was in, and granted, JJ's more mobile, but I'm just talking about just from a pocket pass, from have a nice pocket to pass in. He was virtually untouched. But as soon as K got in there, you got your guards and centers getting just whiffing on blocks. I'm like, what is going on here? And that'd be one thing if that happened a couple times while JJ was in, but it was like soon as K got in, you're like, what? Like literally his first um drive, like he had guys in his face like 3 straight plays in a row. And it was just really, really odd to see. And it's like I don't want to throw out accusations that you were ever turn your back on a teammate and like, yeah, hey man, but it definitely was odd. I agree with Antoine there. It was definitely odd to see that. Um, and we don't know what's happening behind closed doors. I'm not, like I said, I'm not throwing the accusations out there, but definitely odd. Definitely odd. Cade had a rougher game today than he did week one. Um,
And
it,
week
it
one
got
was bad.
worse, and it's unfortunate because, um, I'll say this too. Look, any fans out there that were booing Cade and chanting JJ and all that stuff, we want JJ. I think you're being kind of losers. I'm sorry, guys. I just don't agree with that. You don't have to boo the kid. The kid's done nothing wrong on the field. Like you may have your guy, you may want JJ to start, but to be out there and this kid has done nothing wrong. The team is winning. It's not like he's underperforming and the team's losing, right? We've had periods of Michigan football where we've had a quarterback starting and the team's underperforming and we losing the game and we need that quarterback change. Okay, then I get the frustration and voicing it. But when the team's doing well and JJ's starting, he's already in. He just got subbed out for a drive. You know, I just don't agree with any fans that were booing. I thought that was kind of whack, to be honest with you. Um, yeah,
Yeah, and here's where and Rod Anderson 3-4 nails it. This was my thought because we during the game were texting, um, but my response was because you had just mentioned, does this seem a little weird? Like, does it seem like they kind of, not let them through, but just it looked a lot different? And this was my thought on it. I'm like, well, at the end of the day, we're dealing with human beings, so you just never know. But I would say no, that they aren't, giving less effort. I thought that just Hawaii, knowing that JJ is in at quarterback, you can't really go all out with your pass rush because if you don't get home, he could just step up in the pocket, take off, and he's gone for a quick 15, 20 yards. So that was part of my response to you was I just thought that the Hawaii D line was just a little more aggressive when Cade was in there because they know he's not gonna move, he's not gonna take off. It's something where you can hone in, where to get to with that
sure.
target spot, of the QB. Um, I just would find it really hard to believe that this O line group that had returning Joe Moore award winners like, would have that kind of thought process to just even give a little less effort, like because it's
Yeah,
Cade versus JJ. I just I can't mention that and think that would be even a possibility in my mind. I can't say that. How about that?
yeah. I mean, I do think that's fair. And guys, I'm kind of turning my camera on and off because I'm on a slight delay here. But I do believe that that's a fair assessment. And once again, I'm not throwing out any accusations that this offensive that the second team or first team offensive line, whoever was in there with Cade, was mailing it in or trying to set them up. I don't think that's fair. It was just a very odd timing of it. And it's remarkable how a year changes things. Because look, even though JJ was in a mix of playing last year, it was K's job. Um, you didn't see Cade like this. He looks like a totally different guy. He doesn't. His confidence seems to be. And look, you can say what you want about his abilities. Look, we know he's limited in terms of his mobility in comparison to JJ. He's not a statue. I've seen him run. He's not a total statue, but he's not nearly as mobile as JJ. He doesn't have the arm JJ has, but he looks like a totally different guy. And I think the pressure, I think the noise has gotten to him. Um, and it's unfortunate. I just think that from also a fan perspective, the kid deserves respect. He does. And you could have your guy, but like I said, he's been voted team captain for a reason. I think he's been well respected in that locker room. So look, I think it's very evident now that the JJ McCarthy era is now here, and we're going to see where it takes us. But in terms of where this leads Cade, look, at the end of the day, this is his last time. We've seen the last time him ever starting for Michigan. He helped lead us to a Big Ten title, our first one on almost 20 years or over 20 years. Well, no, almost 20 years. I think it was 18 years. So he deserves respect. He deserves to go down in Michigan history being a key part of that. And but it was definitely fun, man. I mean, I thought it was interesting how they came out and they were aggressive. They let JJ grip it and rip it, which is what we wanted to see. And hopefully, these results will continue to carry over in the following weeks as the competition eventually gets better. For God's sakes, as we kept circling the Iowa game as maybe the first real test, but that's looking like that's the
Yeah, that's what you kept telling. Oh man, oh god, Kinnick, that's a snake pit, man,
what a
snake
bad. I
pit.
mean, look, it was terrible. I mean, terrible losses all around the country. But you talking about from a Big Ten perspective, what a bad day for the Big Ten West. Wisconsin losing, Nebraska losing. Like my God, Iowa losing,
Northwestern lost. They lost to
Northwestern
Duke.
lost. My God, like it's just a terrible day for the Big Ten West. Um, that's like literally the battle for the. I don't even know what to say. Like, dude, it may be whoever wins that side of the conference probably has 8 wins. The way it's looking right now, brother, it is looking pretty bad.
That's rough. That is very rough. Also, so blank name is a regular viewer, is usually with us. Thanks for the comment. Puts that deep post to Cornelius Johnson is not even a pass Cade would have tried to complete. He would have thrown it to Bell running the short cross route. And I was thinking more of the Roman Wilson touchdown, kind of that first one. But even the Cornelius Johnson throw, do you think so? A, is that the play calling was different, or do you think just B, the decision maker was making more aggressive decisions? Like what option do you think it was today? Because I mean, I think we can all agree the offense didn't look like this last week. So what do you think it's more the reason for it looking different?
I thought it was a little bit of both. I mean, I thought that and as we talked
Hold on,
about this.
I'm gonna make you choose. You can't say both.
Oh
It's
gosh,
got to be
okay.
either 51-49. It
I
can't
thought
be
it was
50
play
50.
calling. I thought it was play calling because it
Okay.
goes back to what we talked about last week. Um, in terms of, I believe this staff calls plays differently for both quarterbacks based on their skill set. And so I just thought that the plays that they were calling for JJ allow for more threats, right? Deep threats down the field. Because think about it, especially if a defense isn't man, well, the more guys you get to take, the more guys that run down the field with your receivers, that's more lanes for JJ to check down, to take off and run. It gives you more options. So I thought it was more play calling than actual decision making. I didn't think there was a problem or a difference in like for example, Cade. I mean, Cade was either on the rest or even when he made a decision, he made a bad throw. He just looked off. So I mean, I thought it was different play calling based on skill set.
You know what? interesting is I would probably go with B. I think it's the guy making the decisions. And the reason I say that is there was a specific play, and I'm about 99% sure JJ hit Ronnie Bell on like a crosser route. It was like a 5 yard cross. He's coming across the field, and he hit Ronnie right in stride. Ronnie's catching it, running down the field. It was a routine throw, but it was a really good throw. And I can remember vividly Cade having the same opportunity, the same type of route, the same type of throw last week, and he threw it behind the receiver. It was incomplete, and it just didn't. You know what I mean? It just didn't. Number one, it was incomplete, but it's just different. And I think, and there's a chance that some of these deeper routes and more aggressive play calls were called last week, but just the trigger man's not throwing the ball down the field. Like I think that's I think of all things, I think that's probably Cade's biggest issue. But the difficult part is that's also what probably kept him as QB1 last year. You know what I mean? Is because he was safe with the ball, he was risk averse, but at some point you have to throw the ball down the field because it takes so much pressure off your offense. To have that first drive, and maybe Hawaii's a bad example because we knew Michigan was going to win, but to have the first play of the game, you run the ball, get a really good gain, and then the second play you go for a 40-yard touchdown. Like, that's just, you're not having to march down the field and get to that end zone. You're getting it in chunk plays, and it just takes a lot of pressure off your team. And I just think that that's probably, when it comes to this QB battle, which I do think is over, we can kind of talk about that next. I think that's probably the reason that Cade ended up losing that battle, was because he just does not push the ball down the field.
Well, I'll tell you one thing. As I'm watching, press conference highlights of the Iowa State game, Iowa needs a quarterback. I can tell you that much. I, uh, it can always be worse. I'm gonna answer your question, dude, but just a quick, Also, wait a minute. Another thing too, real quick, Des. We always tend to have some Notre Dame fans on most of our streams here. Are any of you guys in attendance tonight? I know you're having a hard time, and if you're not here, I know we'll probably see you Wednesday. But keep hope alive. I've been there. We've been there as Michigan fans, where you have a highly respected program, and um, when you're going through a rough time. But yeah, just saying, just buck up. And also, Iowa fans, if any of you guys are here, it's rough out here, man. It is rough out here in these streets. You got Iowa; they can't score, dude. How do you get 14 points in 2 weeks, 150 in total yards,
And
dude?
all of the points, it wasn't like it was two touchdowns. Their offense scored 10 points in the last 2 weeks. Their defense scored actually four of that 14 that you're talking about.
I just
It's
it's mind blowing, and guys, I know who we're here for and all that. I'm just saying, like it's days like today that you do have to take a step back. You're like, you know what, we got some things that we're working on our side, but man, I'd much rather be us than a lot of the schools right now who are highly respected, like Michigan. So um yeah, yes, blank name. I gave Des knows this very well. Des is not happy today. He had it rough. I had to talk my man's down from the ledge because he said we're losing, it's over. And I'm
well,
like, bro, it's you'll pull it out, but this is a disgusting performance. We're talking
oh
about
yeah.
Bama, by the way.
Well,
Uh,
I'm more harsh and critical on the team than you are, and I also think I'm pretty realistic. Like, when we play, I mean, I haven't seen us play like that in, yikes. I'm not sure I've ever seen an Alabama team play like that under Saban. That was wild.
most penalties that he's ever had there.
Yeah, easily. I mean, it just was nonstop. I'm like, are we just losing our minds right now? It was very odd.
That's what happens when you got to leave Tuscaloosa, baby. You got to go somewhere.
Yeah, well, sure. But you know, I had told you, I'm like, I'm not sure it matters if they win this game or not. Like, they are not winning a national championship looking like this. So
For sure.
um, yeah, they got a lot of work to do. But and it to me, I think it's so odd because I think Bryce Young's stock is going up, and just it's just the guys around him. Just we don't have anyone that's ready to uh, um, to just be the number one guy like Jermaine Burton. You know, transfer from Georgia. I thought he was going to be the number one guy. Turns out he can only play well when he's playing against Alabama, not
Yeah.
for Alabama. So found that out today. But yeah, just guys dropping the ball, and it just I'm like, oh gosh, like
Speaking of dropping
I
the
felt
ball,
really bad for Bryce Young.
yeah.
Go
But
ahead.
speaking of dropping the ball, Ronnie Bill got to clean up some of these mishaps he's had. He had a couple mishaps earlier in the game that he's too much of a veteran to be doing. I mean, one he got away with because he recovered a fumble. But he lost the ball that was in deep in Michigan's territory. That if they would have lost that ball, that would have been essentially an easy 6 points if it's a competent opponent. And also, he had a easy drop pass that JJ hit him right in the chest. So, only reason I'm bringing it up because Ronnie's a better player than that, and he's a leader, and he has to lead by example and lead by his play. So, yeah, he's got to fix some of that. That was a little shocking to see him playing like that. But like, you know, he hasn't played in a while. You know, it's his second game in a minute. You know, who knows why? You know, but guys make mistakes, but he's got to clean that up. That was one of the things that stuck out in terms of some self-inflicted mistakes. Um, Offensive line, don't like I said, only really bad signs of Michigan's offensive line today was a few times Kate had drives in there. Other than that, they played well. We ran the football effectively. One thing that was really cool to see, and we've been talking about this in terms of Donovan Edwards, is his versatility, and it was great to see that. You know, like the long pass that JJ McCarthy had hit him almost in stride for it. That was he felt just short of a touchdown. You know, that was great to see because it was another example of how versatile Donovan Edwards is, and also the connection that those two have. You know, they're roommates, and it seems like you always see them together. They seem to then they came into Michigan together, same class, so and they're going to be vitally important not only this year but next year as well. Because they both have NFL type talent, so they can take this offense to the next level. So I don't know. Why
Yeah,
is Steve Brown mad? Because I'm calling out Ronnie Bell off a couple mistakes. Did I say he sucks? D, chill, dude. I never say he was a bad player. Like I'm saying, he needs to clean that stuff up because he is a veteran player. What am I supposed to kiss his butt? If I thought he sucked, I wouldn't say anything. Well, I wouldn't say, at least I wouldn't like say he needs to be better. I expect more out of him. That's why I'm calling him out. He's a
yeah,
veteran. He's a
and I
leader.
think for some guys, it just goes back to
You shut
the
up.
human nature of, well, I know we're playing a good team, so I don't always have to focus on the fundamentals. I can,
No, it
turn my
matters.
head, and I'm trying to score as soon as I catch the ball. Like that one, the drop. I think that was JJ's only incompletion was the drop that Ronnie had. It was a bit of a difficult, catch because there was a defender right, between him and the ball, but you're a high level Division 1 receiver, like you got to make that catch. But I think that's some of it where guys are just trying to score, or trying to get a big gain on every single
Yeah.
when they
He's
get the ball, when
anxious.
they get their opportunities. So
Yeah. He's
um,
anxious.
it happens. But yeah, you got to keep your focus, and you know it doesn't matter how open you are. If you drop the ball, it really doesn't
Yeah, I
matter.
mean, look, he's gonna be, and the reason why it's important because, like I said, he's a leader, and also he's so important to this team. And like I'm not saying, I hope you're blowing this out of proportion. All I'm saying is that it'll be the same thing. Gosh, like let's say last year Aiden had a bad game. Let's say Aiden whipped on a play on a sack that potentially could have changed the outcome of the game. I'll call him out. I'm just saying your leaders, your senior guys, your captains on the team, when they have some self-inflicted mistakes, it needs to be brought like, hey man, you gotta fix that. This is a lesser opponent, so it didn't hurt us, but it could potentially down the line. And the funny thing is, the coaches are going to be telling him that as well.
You think that he's not going to hear about that during the film room? Come on, Ronnie. You got to hold on to the ball, baby.
Hmm.
We're deep in, on territory. We lose that ball, you're putting our defense with it back against the wall with only 7 or 8 yards to work with. Same thing when it comes to you. Hey, you got to catch that.
It's probably not going to be a big thing because Ronnie knows, like, oh man, my bad, coach. Like, got to catch that, blah blah blah. It's probably not even going to be something deep, serious. They're going to watch it on film, like, hey, come
Yeah,
on, hey, you got to catch it, man. Look,
not gonna
and the
berate
coach is
them.
probably going to spin it into positive. Like, look at all this green grass in front of you. Like, son, if
Yeah,
you catch the ball, you
that's
might
it,
score.
baby. That's
Yeah.
it.
So it's not going to be a big deal.
Yeah.
But yeah, you just got to keep your focus up.
Yeah, I mean, look,
Um,
a day like today, Des, is like I said, it's not much you can say that, you can pick and say, hey, this wasn't good. Everything was pretty much good. It's just like what we talk about all the time with these type of games. What you want to see, number one's health, and number two, you want to see as clean as football as possible. That's it. And any kind of small little mistakes, you could be a little bit, you can micro pick a little bit because this is the time where you can really work on it and get better and better and better. So yeah, I mean, I don't think you guys. I hope people understand when we bring those things up. It's just to say, hey, these are the small things we work on. But other than that, everything's peachy. Because do you guys want a show like this? Guys, Michigan played great. This is fun. Everything is awesome and we're going to just get that's not, come on, hey, it was a great day today. And also I will say this, I think for a lot of us who have been over this whole quarterback debate, I'm pretty sure we can move forward now. Now we'll find out. I'm sure Harbaugh's going to have his normal Monday press conference to talk about what he thinks and what's next. I hope on Monday that Jimmy just comes full to come to that to the table and just says, hey, you know what, we know what we want to do. Well, Antoine, I can't help you with that, man.
Antoine's
I
joking.
know, I know he's joking, but it's like the people like, what you want me to say? Like, for God's sake, you think I'm like trashing Ronnie Bell? All I just said was that he had a couple mishaps.
Hmm.
If a guy fumbles the ball, that's a mishap. One person was like,
Yep.
supposed to act like it didn't happen. No, he fumbled the ball. He's a good player. Good players shouldn't, whatever. The point is, also CJ Stokes. I think that was great to see him having a really good day today. That's right now the third string running back. I think the incredible things about last year's team was that they were three running backs deep. I mean, Donovan Edwards was the third guy. And on a lot of programs, especially in the Big Ten, he may have been the number one or second string guy as a true freshman. That's how
Yeah.
talented he is. So that this year, and of course, Hassan Haskins is in the NFL. You know, they still got Blake Horn, they got Dalvin Edwards, but now maybe CJ Stokes can be that third string guy that can come in there and you know bring some kind of different element that this team could use in their run game. So that was great to see. Love, I thought Mike Sanders still makes some plays at the nickelback position. That was really good to see. Um, we saw a Will Johnson sighting, the 5-star corner. Um, he came in late in the game, had a really good hit. Um, he actually missed an opportunity for, I thought, a pick six, but so it's a lot of positive things that you saw today. You just want this team to continue to work on it, and I'm just glad that we didn't lose to Marshall.
That is true. Or Appalachian State. Teddy Rich says third or fourth touchdown. JJ went to Johnson for 6. I knew then JJ is the for sure starter. Cade couldn't and would never do that. JJ looked poised and ready to skull drag anyone in his way, which I agree with that, Teddy Rich, and thank you for the super chat. And Michigan Wolverine says, "Do you think Dante Moore is rethinking Michigan?"
Look, look, man. After watching that Oregon versus Georgia game last week, I think anybody would just have a doubt. The thought probably went through his head, and I'm sure, like, wow, that's just really what it's about. But I think if you've kind of paid attention to what people have said for Dante's reasons for choosing Oregon, I think it goes beyond just having the best chance to win as many games as possible. Because if that was the case, he probably wouldn't have chose Oregon. He probably would have chose Bama or I don't know one of the schools that's won a national title, Georgia, the won a national title the last couple of years. So I say one guy I may look out for, and I'm not saying that he'll flip to Michigan, but CJ Carr, potentially. I think that's something that people need to watch because if I'm not mistaken, I think CJ's a junior, right, guys? I have to go back and check.
Yes, he's a junior.
So, I mean, he has a whole nother year of high school that he has to go through before he has to, officially report to Notre Dame. So, I will say this: Marcus Freeman has not had the best start to his career at Notre Dame, and that I will say them losing today to Marshall pretty much all but seals there any chance of them getting into the CFP. I mean, there's no chance nowadays. They have 2 losses. They've lost to Marshall. I mean, even if they ran a table and won 10 games, they don't have a conference championship to make up for it. So I think Notre Dame is out of the running, and that helps Michigan because now, let's say if we do run a table, and let's say we fall short against Ohio State. Let's say that happens, right? Well, that helps. That's a stronger case now for an 11-1 Michigan team to get to CFP later this season. So, it's same thing with Texas A&M. Texas A&M now has 1 loss, a bad loss to Appalachian State. And I mean, let's be honest. Do we really think Texas A&M is going to run a table? That was a team that's number 6. So this is also besides Michigan handling their business on the field, it helped Michigan's causes with other teams dropping the ball today because that's number 6 and what number 8 does. That lost today. That's huge. Those are teams that we don't have to worry about no more in terms of trying to get into CFP. So this was a really good day for Michigan.
Agreed. There's a question I wanted to get to. Here we go. Jesse Areola says, how many points you guys think Iowa will score against Michigan's D? Before you answer, Dre, I will say I was on on Wednesday, the Iowa channel. I was watching Corey's stream. No, not Wednesday. It had to be Thursday or Tuesday. Anyway, but Iowa fans, before today's game, were terrified. They were like, if we're doing this against South Dakota, like, what is going to happen against Michigan? And then even today, I checked out a bit of the post game for Iowa, and people, I mean, and this was all Iowa fans because I hung in there a little bit to kind of see, if there was any like Iowa State trolls, like any Cyclone, comments. There was none of that. It was just all Iowa fans who were just upset about the game. And I mean, I saw multiple times different people commenting Michigan's going to blank us. So with that being said, what are your thoughts? How many points do you think Iowa will score against Michigan's defense?
I mean, dude, I'm not even trying to be funny. Like I don't think they'll score because you gotta understand how like historically bad this Iowa offense is. Like it's not like they've like guys think about this. They have scored 14 points the last 2 weeks, and mind you, like you said, Des, last week, what was it? They scored.
It was only 3 that the offense scored. The defense had 2 safeties.
10 points. Their offense has put up 10 points in the last 2 weeks versus South Dakota State and Iowa State. Please help me if I'm missing like some defensive juggernauts. No. Okay, so it's like it's sad. It's actually sad. Like to see it's embarrassing. And I'm not even an Iowa fan, but I'm embarrassed for the Big Ten. It's how bad they look. You can't be, especially in today's college football. This is almost impossible to be as bad as they are offensively. Look, it's a disappointing because that's a game that I circled that I'm like, hey, maybe that'll be the first true test for this team. But yeah, it's rough in Kinnick right now, baby. So to answer your question, Jesse, I don't think they'll score. I feel silly saying that, but that's how bad they've been.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I feel more confident this year than I did in the Big Ten championship, and I've mentioned it multiple times on how confident I was there. So yeah, their offense is just so predictable. Their quarterback play is bad. Their scheme is elementary. It's not even high school. Like there's just, and I sorry to be so harsh, but but this is Brian Ferentz. This has been him for the last 2 years since he's been there, since he's
It
been the
can't be this
OC.
bad,
Like
Des. I mean,
he's awful.
this is
Like
ridiculous.
he needs to be fired. Like I don't understand. Well, I don't understand why Kirk is keeping him as the offensive coordinator. And my thought is, and I actually made this comment on Corey's channel. I'm like, Kirk Ferentz has a sickening level of content for what that program is. And they were in the Big Ten championship last year. I get it. I understand, that is a very successful thing. Only 10 programs get there. But you didn't have a shot in that game. There was none at all. And now you're starting you're almost building off of that lack of success with your offense, that now it's now coming back to bite you in the butt. And it's unacceptable to have this type of offense. I mean, to me, he needs to look at let me take a look at the top 10 offenses in the FCS, and let me call those 10 offensive coordinators to see if they want to be my OC, because that's what Mike Gundy did. And they flipped their offense, like, I mean, in a year or two. Now, I think that OC has since moved on, but that's basically what he did. He took the best offensive coordinator as far as statistical wise, gave him a call, interviewed him, and hired him. That's what he did. And for Kirk Ferentz, it's like, if you want this to be your program where you got your fans want your son fired, want you fired, think you've lost touch with the game, which I would argue you have. Like, is this what you really want for Iowa? Like, if you love this program so much, you should understand that you either need to make a move at OC, or you need to step down, remove yourself from it, because you are out of touch. I'm sorry.
He's starting to remind me of D'Antonio the later years with MSU, like a guy who's just content and just kind of like not really. I think sometimes coaches merely you have to be a maniac, like to be a really successful coach at this level. You have to be a little bit like, you have to be driven, like especially a guy who's been as experienced and been at a school at Iowa as long as Kirk Ferentz have. Like, there has to be something within you to keep that fire, to want to continue to recruit, to want to be too willing to reinvent, find ways to rejuvenate your program, to reinvent your offense and stuff like that. And that's one thing that Harbaugh, you gotta give him credit for, is that he's never been afraid to, even though he's kind of stubborn in his ways, he's never been afraid to shake things up, with his staffing, and I give him so much credit for that, and it's paid off for him. Like there was this transition that Harbaugh went through. I want to say, what was it, 2017 or 18, when he started to go more towards the spread offense and change things up. And he made the change eventually, albeit a little bit too late in some of our eyes, to get rid of Don Brown. Go a different direction defensively. I mean, because statistically, during most of the season, Don Brown was very successful in terms of how his defense looks. They were like a top 5 defense most of the year. So they start playing teams like Ohio State, and they'll get exposed. But that he eventually made that move. So he's never been afraid of, and been too loyal to people and stuff like that for the most part. So, you gotta give a guy like Harbaugh credit for that, compared to a guy like Kirk Ferentz, who is just not like that. And it's embarrassing, man. I can't believe it. You tuned in just to see how people were on Corey's post-game show for Iowa, and you say a lot of Iowa fans were ticked off, to say the least. I can't blame them. And I've been there. We've been there as Michigan fans. We've been down and out where, we're frustrated and we've been embarrassed. I'm kind of curious. I'd like to ask you guys on the stream, how do you think today's Texas A&M loss to Appalachian State compares to ours in 07? Now, granted, we were number 2.
You really want everybody reliving this thing? Okay.
I don't. Hey, come on, man. We're way past that. It was a dark moment in our history. I understand. But look, we were number 2. Appalachian State was still in the FCS, actually, if I'm not mistaken. And granted, they're not. They've kind of risen, and I think they're now in the Sun Belt, whatever it is. But Texas A&M was number 6, and they were also at home. How do you think that compares? And I'm not saying to bring up pain. That was 07. I'm not saying to bring up pain, but I'm just saying, like, man, like,
Do you feel a little bit better? Like I can't lie, for a brief moment, I'm like, I don't feel quite as bad now because at least they've done it to somebody else.
Uh, well, I feel good that it was Texas A&M just because Jimbo and Saban had their little tiff this summer. But I think I think the Texas A&M loss is worse because I get it, they aren't ranked as high.
That's only 4 spots.
Yeah, right. It's only 4 spots. But what I also think about too is App State was coming off a national championship. They were FCS, but I mean the FCS goes through a full tournament. I mean you know what I
Yeah.
mean. So and I think that was like either their second in 3 years or their third in four. I mean they were essentially a dynasty at the FCS level. And they had a quarterback who ended up playing wide receiver in the NFL, Amani Edwards. So I I think, and if I'm not mistaken, that was the first game of the season where this one for Texas A&M, they've already played a game before.
Yeah.
Whereas, sometimes that you can have a lot of rust. You're trying to have some new players in and things of that nature. So game one can be kind of ugly. But for Texas A&M, this was not their first game of the season. So I actually think Texas A&M's loss is worse than Michigan's was. But that's just my opinion on it.
Okay, I need to, guys, and Mark, I know it's late and you could be tired, you could be enjoying your Saturday night. Um, but you and JJ played very, very well. But I don't know. Did you see Bryce Young's performance today, especially that fourth quarter? Uh, okay,
Let's
we got to power it down a little bit, baby. Power it down. I would I would love to say that JJ. I would love to have a game like I would love to see JJ have a game like Bryce did today. Now, granted, the offense wasn't clicking a lot for Bama today, but the clutch plays he had down the stretch of that game, I would love for JJ McCarthy to have that moment, and I think there's a chance he will. 'Cause I think he can be special, but let's power it down, baby. He did not play Bryce Young and CJ Stroud,
Well,
So
I don't know. I didn't see CJ Stroud what he did today. I mean, so if you the difficult part is the Heisman. A lot of it is statistics, and Bryce
yeah,
Young's
sure.
stats today weren't great. If you watch the game, he played great. The
Yeah.
people around him were
Well,
failing left
we're
and
talking
right.
about Bryce. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Right, and
I
that's who
understand
I'm
that.
talking about. So I'm just saying, like, if you look at today, JJ today versus Bryce today, like JJ's gonna have a better, stat line, and I think it's way too early for that to really get into that, because we got to talk about Heisman moments and games against rivals. So there's plenty of things that need to happen before there's any real meat to that discussion, but you just never know. I mean, if JJ keeps playing like this, and the guys around Bryce Young keep playing like that, like I don't see why JJ couldn't be ahead of him as far as the Heisman voting. But who knows? We still got a lot of football left, so
Yeah, yeah, oh yeah, for sure. Look, and like I said, I think JJ has, he has all the tools. I really do. But he has to now. What we need to see, guys, is now we have to see those battle tested moments, right? That's when we're going to really learn about JJ, right? Because he hasn't had that yet, um, as a starter, and that will be the next step in his progression and his ascension to be whatever quarterback he's going to be. Because we have other programs. You have kids that go into your program that show signs of being special, um, but then they hit certain roadblocks. Sometimes they can have a really good first year, just like I want to draw a blank guy for North Carolina. He's in the NFL now.
who
Why am I drawing a
Sam
blank on him?
Howell, quarterback.
Sam Howell. Sam Howell had a fantastic true freshman year. Highly recruited kid, I think 4-star kid, 4 or 5-star kid coming out of North Carolina. Had a fantastic freshman year, but then had like a sophomore slump. Hit the following year or his third year, he wasn't quite as good as effective. Now that part of that was due to his offensive line, part of that was doing his receivers, receiver turnover in the program. But the point is that there's a certain level of development, and it's not always linear, like a line, straight line. Is what I'm trying to say. So we should feel really good about where JJ is, but also recognize that he will.
will have some, what the heck moments, because that's part of it. And we're going to have to be able to, as a fan base, to accept that and recognize what it is. And I'm excited, man. I'm excited to see this kid continue to develop and grow. But that's power down on where he is right now. He still has a lot to prove.
Can anyone confirm this? Account 22 says Harbaugh just named JJ the starter in the post-game press conference.
We haven't looked at the press. We've been on here the whole time.
Mm-hmm. Let's see. Everything. Yeah, that's an older one. Well, hopefully
He did say we'll start JJ next week. He did say that. Okay.
Such a Harbaugh way to do it. Right, exactly.
We're just saying that he's a starter.
I guess I got to take that, right? Like, what else?
Dude, he's a starter. I mean, like, what we'll start JJ next week. Okay, well, what is this?
Okay. I think as long as it's a game where Jim is pretty sure that they're going to win, I think he's going to do this 2-quarterback thing. But to me, because we've got UConn next week, and then Maryland, right? I'm getting my weeks right. Next week's the last week to be doing this back and forth thing, especially too because of the way that the offense looked when JJ was there and then when Cade was in there. Like it looked slower, it looked less explosive, like it just didn't look as cohesive. Like, and you need to, at this point in the season, be trying to get your number one offense is in top-notch shape, the best it can possibly be. Like we don't, and I've said this before, we don't have time to play to anyone's ego. Anyone, especially a player, we don't have time to play to anybody's ego. And if the decision is JJ, then you get Cade in the meeting room, get him in Harbaugh's office, and you have a man-to-man conversation. Listen, what you did for us last year, the way you played, the way you led us, was incredible. Like you were our starting quarterback. You were a level hand the entire season, played really well. And even, this season, you were voted team captain. That's not a fluke. Your peers did that for a reason, is because they respect you. They respect how you carry yourself. They would go to battle for you. That is why they voted you a team captain. And our situation right now is JJ's going to be our starting quarterback, and you're going to be our backup. Yeah. And it's not that we don't appreciate what you've done for Michigan. We will always do that. That trophy over there that says Big Ten champions, you had a big part in that. So that's never going to change. But this is where we're at. JJ is going to be the starting quarterback. We just feel like he gives us the best opportunity to win, and just leave it at that.
And I see a lot of people saying this. They want to say, I just want to make sure K deserves respect, man. And I don't agree, guys. I've seen some people say, well, K should be the number 3, be the 4th string. Come on now. No, the kid is struggling, but I think a big part of it is he's pressing because he's in this limbo of where he still believes, maybe due to the coach saying that he does, that there's been like this opportunity to win his job back. But I think once Harbaugh fully announces, hey, this is over. This is the direction we're going. This is what this means for you. Hey, JJ's going to be the starter. But we respect you. You're highly, you know the offense. You run it well. You'll be the number 2. And if something happens, you'll be the first guy in the game. And if K's willing to accept that, and let's say JJ, does get nicked up or has to come out the game for a little bit, I think you will see a lot more of a composed Cade if he accepts that role, because that's more of him, more composed. The guy that we're watching right now is not the real Cade McNamara. He's not this bad. He's been bad the last 2 weeks, and that's not to say that he should be the starter. No, it's clear JJ should be the guy going forward. This is his time now. But Cade's not this bad, guys, and he is the definite number 2. So. Because you never know, guys. Let's say some point during this year, we know JJ likes to run, and he's young. We've seen Trevor Lawrence get knocked out of a game, and Kelly Bryant's had to come in, right, after Trevor Lawrence had a starting job back in Clemson.
No. Chase Rice, I think his name was. So Kelly Bryant was gone
Kelly left
when
at that point.
when Trevor had got hurt, and it was Chase. Oh, that's gonna drive me nuts now. He ended up transferring to Duke, but I think it's like Chase Rice, Chase Bryant, something like that. But it was not Kelly Bryant. He was gone at that point.
Yeah. Well, anyway, my point is that you just never know, guys. Be careful because there may be a point in time this season where we may need Cade again. We may need Cade to step into a tough game that, and if something happened to JJ, and I don't know, because only one hit, maybe he rolls an ankle or he takes a hit and he's in concussion protocol or something like that. You need Cade to come in and have a couple good drives. Well, he has the experience to do that, and so I'm just saying, I know that we're happy with JJ going forward, but I think we just need a little bit careful and not have amnesia, be prisoners of the moment, have amnesia. What that kid helped us do. By no means was he the main driver. I'm not saying that, but he definitely played a big role, and we need to recognize that. But hey, it's a JJ show, baby, and we're moving forward.
Yeah. Well, and I think too sometimes kind of having the pressure off might help Cade as far as
That was my point.
getting
Yeah,
his confidence back. Like, okay,
yeah,
I know I'm, QB1, whatever. Let's say next week is pretty similar to this week where, JJ lights it up in the first half, he's done by halftime, and then, and then Cade can come in and he's not going to throw it a ton, but just
no,
to get back to the Cade that we saw last year, because we haven't even seen that guy. And also too, if he wants to transfer, whatever, that's fine. Like, but still also developing as a quarterback throughout the season. You're not going to get a ton of the snaps and things of that nature, but you could still develop and work your craft. A guy I think about is Jalen
absolutely.
Hurts. Like, he did that when the year he sat behind Tua. He had like some kind of ankle surgery he had to get, but he developed a lot that season. And then in the SEC championship, he came in and played really well because he did focus on his craft, being a better quarterback, his reads, throwing the ball down the field. So it could still work out for the best for Cade as far in maybe it's not as the QB1, but you just never know. Maybe you put yourself in a better spot that after this season, if he does want to transfer or something like that, you just put yourself in a better spot. You're in a better headspace.
Yeah,
You're not just making a snap decision like, well, I lost a QB battle, I'm out, I'm leaving. So there's different routes this can go, but it doesn't have to be, we're throwing him out with the bathwater. You know what I
right.
mean?
The weight comes off your shoulders because you know what it is. Like, this is it. This is how it is, and I just make the best of it. And I want to answer. Someone asked me a question. Go back up. I'll scroll up actually.
Because I don't think you see what I see, but
Right, exactly. I saw that, and I agree with that. I didn't use those words in particular, but yeah, the fans, anybody who booed Cade, like, you guys need to really get that together. That wasn't right. You can have your guy, but to stop crushing the kid. He doesn't deserve that. So, let's toast media. Dre, what do you think of the D line? I thought the D line was really good. Mike Morris, beast. He's a beast all day. Medez talked about his size, his clear size advantage compared to the Hawaii offensive line. That was great to see. I saw Anoma in there a couple of times. There was a sack, I believe, that either Mike Morris had, and Anoma was late, but he was in on the play. He still seems to be in the mix at times. He's not getting a ton of snaps, but they kind of sprinkle him in there a little bit. So I think the D line looks good overall. They look good. They look strong. They look like they bring havoc. And as of now, they look more like a pass rush that's going to be by committee, a collective effort to cause problems back there. It doesn't seem like there's a superstar yet. But we'll see. It's a long season, and maybe one of these guys like Mike Morris or Smith can start to separate themselves and be one of those guys that you have to game plan for, or that can be a game wrecker, so to speak. But I tell you from a secondary standpoint, I think DJ Turner looks really, really, really good. I mean, not only is he having having really good technique at the corner position, but he also is hitting hard. I think their tackling has been pretty good for the most part. So that's a positive sign to see as well. But yeah, I think the D line looks fine.
Mr. Civics, this is quite interesting. I said everyone was so fascinated with the zipping balls of JJ and not focused on the details. We can't win with the effort given today.
Well, I think Mr. Civics, if I'm not mistaken, if I've been seeing his comments, it was not happy with the second and third team's performance in the second half. And what I would say to that is
Hold on, before you say
this.
that, is Mr. Civics a Michigan fan or an Alabama fan? Because if that's what the comment for Alabama, I would absolutely agree. So
Wait,
maybe
yeah,
maybe that's it. Maybe Mr.
no,
Civics is an Alabama fan
maybe
because that
you're Mr. Civics,
you're
Des.
correct.
Maybe you're Mr. Civics.
Are you accusing me of having burner accounts? Are you serious
Yes,
right now?
yes, I am.
Go
No,
ahead.
you know, I wouldn't say Mr. Civics that it was an effort problem. I think there's a reason why guys are second and third stringers, and this is one of those times where you're giving them game experience so they can work themselves in and learn. That's why they're not starting. So yeah, you're going to see a drop off in performance. I don't care who the opponent is. You're going to see a drop off in performance when you start to see the second and third stringers come in. I don't think their play was egregious. I think for the most part they maintained a level of dominance, over Hawaii. It's not like I saw but the second and third stringers on par, and even with Hawaii, I still think that they were still heads and shoulders better than Hawaii's first string guys. So, of course, you would love to see us put up. Well, we had 42 at the half, put up another 42, and win 84 zip. Fine, yeah, that'd be great. But I didn't. It wasn't like I put it this way, and compared to one of our rivals in Michigan State. It wasn't like Michigan State last week where they struggled with Western towards the fourth quarter. Like no, I thought overall that Michigan played a complete game, and it is what it is. I thought they did fine.
I think they'll be fine. I think that no one is winning a national championship based on their third, fourth, and fifth string guys. It's your two deep, your starters, who your absolute 11 best, and then guys to back them up. And it's those guys little by little. Like it's not, well, we need the whole backup offensive line to play well. If we have, for instance, a guard go down, we need that next, guard to come in and play well. So I think Michigan's fine. I think number one, you come out and take care of business, but number two, it's hard to gauge against a team that's honestly not that talented. Like,
Yeah.
Timmy Chang's got a lot of work to do there at Hawaii. So I'm not quite sure you can gauge anything from a game like this outside of Michigan winning by 10. I think that would have been an issue, but
Right.
winning by 46 points, I'm just
And
there's
at
just
the end
not
of
too
the
much that
day,
they can.
like I've said this a couple times to string guys. At the end of the day, when you look at today, what happened around the country, uh, it could have went a lot worse.
It was something in
I
the
mean,
water. You text me that. I'm like,
there was some
what
in the
is
water
going on
today, man. I'm
today?
like, what is going? Like, it's because it's funny. It's like it's not like a quote unquote upset. Texas A&M is 18th or 20th in the country. They lose to Appalachian State. We're talking about a top 10 team, two top 10 teams losing to Marshall and Appalachian State. Marshall went into South Bend. Mind you, I thought the Notre Dame team that for the most part played a very competitive game versus Ohio State, who was a top 5 team in the country, right? And that's their home opener versus Marshall. That's how they perform. I couldn't like it's egregious. It's absolutely egregious. Mind you, think about this. Appalachian State had what was it, 63-61 loss against North Carolina. They gave up 63 points. So you mean to tell me that North Carolina can put up 63 points versus Appalachian State, but you score 14 at Texas A&M? What is going on here? Like it was insane what I was seeing. Like it. I couldn't believe it. And it's yeah, man. So at the end of the day, look, Michigan is exactly what they needed. They took care of the business, guys, because a lot of schools that can't say that.
Mr. Civics is very serious about this, but he says can't win a championship if we allow Hawaii to beat us in the second half. It's not quite how football works, but I mean, Mr. Civics seems pretty set on this point, so I don't think we're going to do anything to sway his opinion, and that's fine. Thank you for tuning in. Rob2068 says McCarthy's already been named next week's starter.
Yep. Harbaugh announced that.
And I think that's I think we've finally gotten to the point that I have been begging to get to as soon as humanly possible of making a decision and let's move forward with it.
Yeah, but
So, yeah.
hopefully this is not a week to week thing. Like you know how Jimmy can be. He could be funny, and
He can.
Can't you see him like just literally just like it turns out the official announcement just kind of pushing this like 4 or 5 weeks from now, and he's just doing this at every game. You know, like people ask him who's going to be the starter next. Do you know who's the defensive starter? And he's going to say something like, "Well, you know, this is a process, and we're evaluating each week, and you know, we'll take each game as it is and make the decision based on what we see at that point."
I feel like he understands like what is at stake now. Like, you know what I mean? Especially because you've won the Big Ten. You know what I mean? Like you've been to the playoff. Like so I don't know. And he's also changed things a bit too because like the offense is more open than it's ever been when JJ is in there. So no, I am holding out hope that the games and stuff are done and that we're just ready to rock and roll and move forward with JJ as the one. Because like I said on our Wednesday stream, and I repeat a lot of this same stuff, but because it doesn't change, like I need JJ to take as many reps with Roman Wilson, Ronnie Bell, Cornelius Johnson, as many reps with the ones as possible. Like that is what matters. Them getting their chemistry down, and it looked great today. It looks great, but nonetheless, what is it going to look like against higher level competition? And I think it will still look good, but nonetheless, you want to consistently sharpen that, which is why guys practice as much as they do. You want to always sharpen that as much as you can. Any and every rep JJ can get with the ones, because he is now QB1, is only going to be a benefit. So when you're talking about splitting reps, or last week when either they're splitting reps as Cade and JJ being QB1, or Cade is taking all the 1 reps because he's going to start that week, that's a full week that JJ is having either none or less reps with the ones than he needs to. So hopefully now with him being named the starter, it's going to be, all right, JJ, you're taking the 1s reps, Cade, you're taking the 2s, and so on and so forth. So that is my hope, is that the competition is closed and done, and we are giving JJ all the reps.
Yeah, I mean that seems to be what we're heading towards. So look, overall, very successful day. I can't wait for Wednesday, guys. So I appreciate all you guys staying up. Me and Dez are literally hovering right now, just trying to. We actually have a tea time in about 6 hours, so
Yeah, we do.
it's gonna be rough tomorrow. But anyway, later on today. So Wednesday's gonna be interesting. Definitely, I think Wednesday show we're gonna we'll recap a little bit more today, but Dez, we'll talk about it more. I definitely would love to kind of recap this past weekend as well. Oh, good. Mark, look at Mark joining. Thank you, Mark. The voice.
Mark is always awake, man. Always awake.
The dude's a machine, man. The best in the biz. The best in the biz. But we're definitely gonna do a little bit more of a recap of college football as a whole. Because this was like, dude, didn't you see someone said, I think you tweeted this, they should do a 30 for 30 on today?
Oh, Bear, what is his name? But Bear, who's on College Game Day, he does a lot of like the spreads and the picks and things like that. He had mentioned that they should do a 30 for 30 on, which yesterday, but the football game that was yesterday, or not the football game, the football day, and just all the different games of all the stuff that went down, which I was like, that actually would be pretty good because it's nuts. I mean, I've got everything pulled up here, and Baylor and BYU are tied game with 8 minutes left. You had Alabama squeaking out a win against Texas. You had Appalachian State over Texas A&M. You had Marshall over Notre Dame. I mean, it was a wild Kentucky over Florida. It was a day. It was a day. So yeah, that would be pretty cool to see. Tennessee over Pittsburgh. That was technically an upset. Washington State over Wisconsin. Texas Tech beat Houston. So yeah, there's a lot of stuff going on.
Big Ten West. I mean, terrible day. I mean, just absolutely dreadful day for the Big Ten West. I mean, we have the defending Big Ten West champions. They can't put up 10. They put up 10 points in 2 weeks. We have Wisconsin losing to Washington State. They look a mess. Northwestern lost. So what are those? Are three latest Big Ten West champion, the Big Ten West representatives in a conference championship game that look a mess right now. Not to mention, what we have in store for this year? Illinois, are they the surprise team in the Big Ten West? I don't know. I mean, it's. I mean, let's toast me. The USC can't get here soon enough. My God, I mean, we gotta strengthen that side of this conference up because this ain't gonna cut it. It's just not. It's just bad football. It's bad football, And look, I'm letting it digest, man. But my goodness, it was a rough day for a lot of places, man. You guys limping out of Austin, Did you this find this interesting though? Did you see when Will Anderson said that that the atmosphere in Austin was like the most incredible or something like most intense experience?
Yeah.
Pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean, I would agree. I mean, they were absolutely charged up, and I had tweeted, kudos to their fans, and because I'm like, listen, if you guys bring that every home game, like the visiting team is gonna have a long day. They're gonna have a really long day. Because I think Alabama had 2 or 3 false start penalties, and a lot of that is due to noise. So, and then also Bill O'Brien, but that's a whole nother can of worms we don't have time for.
You upset. You don't even. You're so tired that you can't even like open up your energy to it. I know you're very upset. We'll talk about while we're golfing and Des, share your Twitter. Let's Toast Media wants your Twitter out here.
Let me pull it up here. Oh, I guess it looks like I only have you guys on there. My Twitter is @allgopodcast1. I'll actually toss it in the chat. But yeah, that was a mess. But what I was saying was kudos to the Texas fans, because yeah, that was loud, and you could just tell because of how many false start penalties we had, and just I mean they were turned up. It was pretty cool to see. It was awesome. It was awesome. This is your Twitter, right, Dre?
Yes.
There's Dre.
So Antoine controlled me. And you guys look. It's because of my emotional reaction to like it. Because I don't know. I just get frustrated with people and their point of view.
You don't even tweet that much.
I need to work on it. I'm a talker, not a typer. I suck at texting. You know this. Mm-hmm. So, anyway, guys, it's been fun. It's been a long night. It's been an exciting day of college football. I don't know about you, Des, but I think we're ready to wrap and to see the good old people on Wednesday.
I agree. Make sure if you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel. We greatly appreciate it. Feel free to follow us on Twitter. My tag is here and Dre's is here. We'd love to engage with you guys other than Wednesday and postgame on Saturday, but we will see you Wednesday at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for about an hour to talk UConn. And thanks so much for tuning in. We greatly appreciate it. What'd you say?
That's exciting.
Exactly. Wow. Hey, we'll see. It'll be the first game that we have that we aren't dealing with a quarterback competition. So this is gonna be history. It's gonna be JJ's second ever start here at Michigan. So it'll be good.
All right.
Thanks again, everybody. Let's Toast Media. I'll definitely give you an update on how golf went. And
appreciate that, man. Wow, I see how it is out here. Peace.
That's it for us. Peace.